I remember when I first realized that there were more blessings to be had in keeping the appointed times. I was so excited to realize that the entire Bible was applicable to me. You can imagine my disappointment, or perhaps you share it with me, when I came across so many differing views of when the appointed times are to be kept. It reminded me of when I first found out about the seventh-day Sabbath, and I realized I had been missing out my whole life. After several years of studying and interviewing people who kept and calculated the appointed times differently, I began to make sense of things in a way that I could understand. I'm not here to tell you that I have it all right. I'm still learning and look forward to learning throughout eternity. I'm here to say this, though. If someone else is keeping the appointed times, whether it's the same time as we are keeping them or not, praise Yah. We are all here to help one another, not to shoot each other down. We're simply hoping to straighten out the confusion and share a foundation that you can use to make sense of it yourself. Let's begin with prayer. Father in heaven, we are so grateful that you are shining down your glory and wisdom upon us from heaven. We thank you for your love that you have given each one of us. We ask that you would put that love in our hearts toward each one of your children. We thank you that you have given us your word that has the answers that we need for our questions. Now, as we study, we just ask that you will send your Spirit to enlighten us, guide us, and direct us. We thank you and ask in Yeshua's name. Amen. There are just so many calendars out there. Some biblical calendars start when the barley is ripe in Jerusalem. Some start after the vernal equinox, some before, some on the dark of the new moon, some on the sliver, and some don't go according to the moon at all. How do you know what is right? Before we dive into this topic, let's consider perspective. How many of us today are in the same place in our understanding as we were 10 years ago? By God's grace, we have hopefully come to a better understanding. If God can give us the grace to grow, then we must also give others grace. We have seen so many turned off from believing a certain way, not because it was wrong, but because the other believers of that way had a wrong attitude. Let us not be a stumbling block to anyone. And just because we have come so far, does that mean we have all the answers? No. We must walk in humility. Here's a story that will help put this point in perspective. We heard it many years ago, and we're told it was a true story. A young woman was traveling home from a hectic trip. After checking in at the airport, she purchased a bag of cookies to enjoy later on the airplane and took a seat near her crowded gate. While she was busy on her phone, a man appeared and asked if he could occupy the seat next to her. She nodded and continued on her phone. As he got settled in, she noticed he had opened her bag of cookies. The nerve of this guy! He didn't even bother to look up and acknowledge her, but instead proceeded to help himself to her cookies. What could she do? What else but reach over and help herself to her cookies? He glanced at her and smiled. The nerve, she thought. He continued to help himself. And she continued to help herself, lest he eat all of her cookies. Finally, there was only one cookie left, and she was called to board her plane. He offered her the last cookie, as if he was doing a kind deed. As she boarded the plane, she just couldn't get that cookie thief off of her mind. He was just so blatant. As she was putting her bag in the overhead bin, what happened next shocked her. Her own unopened bag of cookies came tumbling out of her carry-on. You can just imagine how small she felt. It really is all about perspective. The only true view with the correct perspective 100% of the time is the heavenly view. We are given good counsel while we're still on earth, though. James 1:19-20 says, "Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath, for the wrath of man worketh not the righteousness of God." 2 Corinthians 13:11, "Finally, brethren, farewell, be perfect, be of good comfort, be of one mind, live in peace, and the God of love and peace shall be with you." One perspective that has helped us to understand that if someone is aiming to keep the feast, whether they use the same method or arrive at the same dates or not, we are brothers and sisters and ought to support one another and greet one another in brotherly love. And that's really the object, no matter what the subject is. Let's just keep this in mind as we move to the study. How do we know that God's calendar is really in the heavens? Let's go to the first book in the Bible. "And God said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days and years." Genesis 1:14. These lights in the heavens are for us to know all time on earth. Not only are they God's clock to tell the day from the night, but also his calendar to tell us signs. That's prophecy, like when the stars in Bethlehem lined up and the wise men knew prophecy was being fulfilled. And seasons, those are appointed times, like when the disciples went to the upper room to keep the feast of Pentecost, and they were filled with the Holy Spirit. Let's just look closer at the word seasons. It is Strong's Concordance, and it's number 4150. It's pronounced moed. It says it's an appointment, fixed time or season, specifically a festival, assembly for a definite purpose, a signal as appointed beforehand, a time appointed, and a feast. All of this was put into place at creation. Every time we ever needed to know on earth is determined by the lights in the heavens. Now let's look to Leviticus to find out what these appointments are. Leviticus 23 verses 1 and 2 say, "And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts." Here we see again that same word, H4150, or moed. This links the feasts with the appointed times in Genesis 1:14. We see that these appointments were first introduced to us in the week of creation. We are also told we will be keeping at least some of them in heaven. This means that Torah, or the law, existed before Sinai. Genesis 26:5 tells us that Abraham obeyed the commandments, statutes, and laws. The laws had to have been in place long before Sinai if Abraham kept them. Let me ask, what is sin? It's the transgression of the law. And who sinned first? We read in Isaiah 14:12-15, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation, in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet Thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. So we see Lucifer sinned first. And where did this take place? It was in heaven. If sin is the transgression of the law, and Satan sinned in heaven, the law must have been present in heaven long before our world was created. In Psalm 81, 3-5, we read, "Blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the time appointed, on our solemn feast day. For this was a statute for Israel, and a law of the God of Jacob. This he ordained in Joseph for a testimony, when he went out throughout the land of Egypt, where I heard a language that I understood not." Here we see Joseph taught the Egyptians to keep the Feast of Trumpets, since it's the only appointed time that falls on a new moon. Many times, important things happened on Yah's appointed times. Genesis 19:3 tells us the day of Lot's deliverance found him feasting with the angels on unleavened bread. The deliverance of the children of Israel out of the slavery of Egypt came on Passover. The Egyptian army was drowned during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And Yeshua was crucified on Passover. Habakkuk 2:3 says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry." Here we see the appointed time. The word moed is referring to a future event that we must wait for, because it will surely come. Daniel 8:19 says, "And he said, Behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of the indignation, for at the time appointed the end shall be." Daniel makes it clear that the end will be on an appointed time. Daniel 11:27-35 say, "And both these kings' hearts shall be to do mischief, and they shall speak lies at one table, but it shall not prosper, for yet the end shall be at the time appointed." And verse 35, "And some of them of understanding shall fall, to try them, and to purge, and to make them white, even to the time of the end, because it is yet for a time appointed." Here again, Daniel makes it clear that the end will come on an appointed time or feast day. These are all the same word, moed. And Colossians 2:16 and 17 tell us that we are not to let anyone judge us in respect of these holy days, which are a shadow of things to come. Rather, we are to study to show ourselves approved, rightly dividing the word of truth. Let's look again at our first verse that gives us clues about how to tell the timing of these days. "And God said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years." Genesis 1:14. What do we use to calculate the prophetic times? Heavenly lights. What about seasons or appointed times? Heavenly lights. What about the day? Heavenly lights. And how about the year? Yes, heavenly lights. All of our time can be calculated by the heavenly lights. Remember how we said there's controversy regarding the timing of the feasts? If you're wondering why, the best explanation I can see is that we, as Yah's children, failed to continue keeping them, so we lost track of them. Now we have to go back and figure it out. If we had kept them all along, it would just be a normal thing. We wouldn't need to understand when. The first controversy we come to is the calculation of the beginning of the year. We don't want to get into much of the controversy, but we want to make you aware of it. There are three main ways people use. There is the calculated calendar, which was developed in the 4th century by Rabbi Hillel II. Because the Jews were spread out and could no longer rely on the testimony from Jerusalem. Another group determines by physical observation. The third group goes by the ripe barley in Jerusalem. Because the calendar was given in Eden, it makes sense to us that the ability to read it would have also been present in Eden. This would be before the Hillel II calendar, and even before there was barley to ripen in Jerusalem. In 2 Chronicles 24:23, we read, "And it came to pass at the end of the year that the host of Syria came up against him, and they came to Judah and Jerusalem, and destroyed all the princes of the people from among the people, and sent all the spoil of them unto the king of Damascus." Let's take a closer look at the Hebrew word for the phrase "at the end." It is tekufa, and according to Strong's, it means a revolution of the sun, course of time, and the end of the circuit. So when we see it here with the word year after it, we know we have come to a point in time at the end of a biblical year. This is important because we want to make sure one year has ended or completed its cycle before we start a new one. There is evidence that a type of timepiece that was found in the caves with the Dead Sea Scrolls was used to determine the 4 seasons of the year. These are the equinox and solstice dates. There is still controversy whether or not the Hebrew word tekufa refers to these 4 dates. The equinox occurs when the light part of the day and the dark part are both 12 hours. This occurs once in the fall and once in the spring. The spring equinox is what we consider the tekufa, or ending of the year. The next question would be, when is the beginning of the month? We are told that the Feast of Trumpets is on the new moon, in the 7th month, and it is the first day of the month. So the new year would begin on the new moon after the tekufa, or spring equinox. So we see that we use the tekufa, or spring equinox, to determine the end of the year, and the new moon to determine the beginning of months. Now, to define new moon in order to determine the start of a month. Exodus 12:1 and 2. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. This word month is the Hebrew word Kodesh, which means new or renewed moon. This indicates that the beginning of the month is found at the time of the new or renewed moon. Some calculate the new moon when it is gone dark, after waning smaller and smaller. Some use the first visible sliver as their beginning. There may be more ways than this to determine the new moon. I believe some simply go by a certain number of hours of the new moon. We usually go by when we can visibly see the sliver of the moon, after it has waned to completely black. Remember, it is the lights in the heavens that help us to know the timing. So seeing the light is the indication of the new month. We use the Farmer's Almanac for our area to find out the moon phases for the month. It will tell what percent of the moon will be visible on any given night. When we have sighted it in perfect conditions at less than 3% sometimes, we know we should be able to see it at 3% for sure. In case of a cloudy sky, where we can't see the moon at all, we go by when it would have been visible if it were clear. Using the almanac gives us a tentative date to plan around and start looking for the new moon, especially on the first and seventh months, when the appointed times depend on the new moon. Let's go back to Leviticus 23, verses 1 and 2. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. We see at the end of the second verse it says, These are my feasts. Then the next verse identifies the first one as the seventh-day Sabbath. I just love how the introduction of the feast begins with the fourth commandment, which is the one they all hang on, magnify, and protect. I also love that he says, These are my feasts. These are the feasts of the Lord. Verse 3, 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest, and holy convocation. Ye shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. And verse 4, These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. Right here we see they are convocations, prophetic rehearsals. The next verses give us the timing of Passover and unleavened bread. In the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover, and on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto the Lord. 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread. In the first day ye shall have an holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord 7 days. In the seventh day is an holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. Then we come to the Feast of First Fruits. Let me go back one. In verses 9 to 12. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye be come into the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. And he shall wave the sheaf before the Lord, to be accepted for you. On the morrow after the Sabbath the priest shall wave it. And ye shall offer that day, when ye wave the sheaf, an he-lamb without blemish of the first year, for a burnt offering unto the Lord. And this starts the count of the Feast of Weeks, or 50 days to Pentecost. And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering. 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall ye number 50 days, and ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord. Ye shall bring out of your habitations 2 wave loaves of 2/10 deals. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be baken with leaven. They are the first fruits of the Lord. Let's back up to verses 15 to 17, where it tells us how to count from first fruits to Pentecost. This is another area where there are different ways of thinking to calculate first fruits, which also affects the timing of Pentecost. It starts with the phrase, the morrow after the Sabbath. We read that the first and 7th days of the Feast of Unleavened Bread were Sabbaths. So some people take the first Sabbath of the Feast of Unleavened Bread and apply this phrase to that Sabbath. First fruits would always be 2 days after Passover, and the day of the week would fluctuate from year to year. This would be true for the day of Pentecost as well. Let's go back and see what it did say in the passage about the first Sabbath of unleavened bread. It does not use the word Sabbath, which is Strong's H7676, that refers to the seventh-day Sabbath. Here, in the context, it doesn't even use the word Sabbath. There's another clue that makes it clearer to me which day is the start of the count to Pentecost. Because it doesn't say the word Sabbath here, I don't think that is where it's talking about the day after the Sabbath. But let's go on. Here we see that there will be 7 Sabbaths in the 50-day count to Pentecost. Let's just look at the year 2025 for an example. We had Passover on April 13th. And the first Sabbath of unleavened bread on April 14th. If we took the morrow after that Sabbath, first fruits would fall on Tuesday, April 15th. Let's count the 7 Sabbaths and 50 days to Pentecost. 50 days takes us to June 4th. When we count 7 Sabbaths, the last one is May 31st. Our verse said Pentecost is the morrow after the 7th Sabbath. That would have had to be June 1 in this case. The only way you can get 7 Sabbaths, 50 days, and the morrow after the 7th Sabbath to line up is if you start with the morrow after the 7th-day Sabbath that occurs during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. This is just how it makes sense to us. We're not trying to step on the toes of our fellow feast-keeping brothers and sisters. Let's go back to Leviticus 23, where our blueprint is found. In 23 to 25, it says, And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month, on the 1st day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, and holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. Here we have the only feast day that falls on the 1st day of the biblical month, or new moon. This is the Feast of Trumpets. This day begins the count for the fall feasts. And do you remember when you can know for sure when the new moon is? That's right, when you can see the sliver. This is the day of the Hebrew idiom, the day or hour no man knows, because we don't know it until it's here. When you see the sliver of the new moon, that evening begins the 1st day of the month. In verses 27 to 29 we read, Also on the 10th day of this 7th month there shall be a day of atonement. It shall be an holy convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls, and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. And ye shall do no work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before the Lord your God. For whatsoever soul it be that shall not be afflicted in that same day, he shall be cut off from among his people. This is the most solemn day of the year, just as it was in the wilderness for the children of Israel. And it goes on through verse 32, And whatsoever soul it be that doeth any work in that same day, the same soul will I destroy from among his people. Ye shall do no manner of work. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations in all your dwellings. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls. In the 9th day of the month at even, from even unto even, shall ye celebrate your Sabbath. It's clear here that it is a statute forever. This one not only gives us the day and the month, but also the exact 24-hour period of time, just to make sure we don't miss it. We now come to the fall feasts, the last of the feasts of the fall, the Feast of Tabernacles, in verses 34 to 37. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles, for 7 days unto the Lord. On the 1st day shall be an holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. 7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. On the 8th day shall be an holy convocation unto you, and ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein. These are the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord, a burnt offering, and a meat offering, a sacrifice, and drink offerings, everything upon his day. But wait, that's not all. We have the last great day. In verses 38 to 39, we read, Besides the Sabbaths of the Lord, and beside your gifts, and beside all your vows, and beside all your free will offerings, which ye give unto the Lord. Also, in the 15th day of the 7th month, when ye have gathered in the fruit of the land, ye shall keep a feast unto the Lord 7 days. On the 1st day shall be a Sabbath, and on the 8th day shall be a Sabbath. Hopefully, this has helped at least explain why there are so many different calculations of the appointed times out there. When we read all about the sacrifices and offerings that accompany these appointed times, we are so thankful that our Messiah has confirmed the covenant and caused them to cease. He is our sacrifice. Daniel 9:27 tells us, And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease, and for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even unto the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. And now we are to be that living sacrifice, holy and acceptable. We are to surrender all to him so that we can walk in his ways as he was the great sacrifice for us. Let's pray. Father in heaven, we thank you for showing us these days that you have sanctified and blessed to give us an extra blessing. We thank you that you have brought this to our attention so that we can receive that blessing. And we ask that you will unite us as we come closer and closer to Yeshua's coming, that we all will have an understanding, the heavenly vision, the heavenly view and perspective of when these are to be kept and how they are to be kept. And in the meantime, please help us to be in unity and walk in love to you and one another. We thank you and ask in Yeshua's name. Amen.